Okay, what I'm going to show here is the basic perm wind. As you can see, I've already put my sections in, which comprises of 6 main sections. We have section 1, which is centre back from the crown, just starting at the crown area, working down into the nape. Sections 2 and 3 are the side sections, which slightly curves round to accommodate the head shape, and then your third one here. We then have sections 4 and 5, which are the 2 front side sections, and finally section 6, which is on the top. Okay, so normally you would always begin on the back section. One of those reasons being is the hair is generally a little bit coarser at the back, whereas it's finer around the front hairline. Therefore, if you're winding with lotion, you don't want the perm lotion on the finer hair first, which is why we would wind the back first. Whether you wind with lotion or not, sometimes that is dictated by the product house or the product that you're using. My general rule would be, if you had hair this length or longer, always wind with lotion, so that if you're a little bit slow, then obviously you can dilute it a little bit, but just so that the perm lotion starts to penetrate those ends of the hair. If the hair is very short, then it is quite acceptable to wind with water, and then you can damp down after the wind with the perm lotion, as it only has a shorter amount of hair to saturate really, whereas longer lengths, it goes around the roller so many times, it's quite thick, so I would always put lotion on. Okay, here with winding a block, and obviously I'm just using water, I'm not wearing gloves. Obviously if you're perming, you know, a live model and using lotion, you must wear gloves for protective reasons and health and safety. On the market now, within all product houses, there are many different lotions to choose from. You have acid perms, alkaline perms, perms for virgin, normal hair, perms for tinted hair. So obviously you must choose the right lotion for the right texture hair, and this will all come through in your consultation to really analyse what hair you're working on. Has it got colour on it? Has it got highlights on it? Is it fine, difficult, coarse? And then depending on what product you're using, you should be able to find the relevant one that's most suitable for your client or model. I'd always recommend to practice perm winding on a block before you do a live model, simply because if you're not used to winding rollers, it can be quite tricky, it can be very messy, and if you get your root direction wrong or your angles wrong, you can end up sort of spoiling the hair rather than improving the texture. And to be honest, if you can do a successful perm wind on a block, which I think is much harder than doing a live model, you're going to be fantastic at perming. So I think it's lots of practice on the block until you get it right, and then coming to a real person, you'll find it much easier than working with a block head. Okay, so once you've determined which lotion's going to be most suitable for your model or client, then it will be really down to what roller size you'll be using. Obviously, the smaller the roller, the tighter the curl, larger the roller, softer the curl, and to take into consideration the hair texture that you're working on. I'm going to be using here what I would call just a medium size roller, which is in this case blue ones, and when you section off, you really want the width of your sections just a little bit inside the width of your roller size, so that the hair can fit neatly around there. And also, when you take each section, depending on the size of your roller, the section should be the same size as your roller size. So again, if you're using a much larger roller, your width of your section or depth of your section is going to be bigger. And as I said, just take in your section the depth of your roller size. As you're combing, really the idea in this case for having a perm is that you get lots of root movement, which is a lot of reason why clients do like to have a perm, because their hair is very flat and they want a little bit more body and root movement. So always comb the hair up. That would be the right way to do it. The wrong way to do it is do not comb it straight to you. If you pull it straight toward you and wind, you're automatically going to get flat roots, as you see here. Okay, so comb up so you've got lots of root lift here. And using a perm paper just taking that, and to cover those ends. It's very important again that the perm paper covers the ends of the hair. If they don't, and you've got ends sticking out as you wind the perm, you're going to get what I would call buckled ends, or they'd end up looking a bit frizzy, or what you could call fish hooks. Okay, so winding down, keep even tension and quite firm, not too tight that you're causing your client or model pain, but it can't be slack as here, because you're not going to get an even tension with the perm. So again, winding down, I would always use, for flyaway hairs, use the tail end of your comb just to wrap little bits of hair round so you get it nice and neat, and that will just sit directly on your section. Using a perm paper, just taking that, and to cover those ends. Okay, so winding down, keep even tension and quite firm, not too tight. So again, winding down, I would always use, for flyaway hairs, use the tail end of your comb just to wrap little bits of hair round so you get it nice and neat, and that will just sit directly on your section. So as you can see here, because I've taken my sections the same depth as the rollers, you have no gaps in between the rollers. If you find you've got spaces like this, it means you're taking them a little bit too wide, or if the rollers are bunched up like that, you're taking them a little bit too narrow. They just must be sort of very equal and comfortable. Okay, so once the back has been completed, you'll then move on to your side areas. So again, beginning at the top section. And this section can be sometimes a little bit confusing because the line is never completely straight. And obviously what you must take into consideration is that the head isn't a square box, it is curved. And obviously every head shape is slightly different in the roundness. So obviously these sections will need to sort of just pivot around to follow the curve of the head, coming around just behind the ear. Okay, also what you must be aware of is where you place your band rubber, because if you place it too close to the root area, it can cause rubber marks, which will make the hair buckle, and in some cases, if the hair is quite fine or maybe chemically treated, it can actually cause breakage. So the band rubber, always just have it a little bit at the top of the roller where you can see it, no closer to the scalp. Okay, so the next section is once 2 and 3 have been completed, the sides back, then we work onto the sides front. So again, beginning with your first section. And as I said, this is just your basic perm wind. So basic perm wind will just go straight down. But once you've mastered this, obviously you can do different variations. Finally, we come to our last section, which is on the top. Okay, so starting from the crown area, I'm going to be winding my rollers forward, although it means that the roots are being pushed back. And personally, I prefer to see the roots of the hair moving away from the face, but that's personal preference. You can always start from the front section and wind the rollers back. Okay, and here I've got the finished wind, and just to take note, around the hairline and especially in the nape area, I've used slightly smaller rollers, and this is simply because often the hairline areas are the first area of the hair to drop. Also, I've done it just on the front hairline here, and again that's often because the hair gets a bit distressed because the person is more likely to sort of play with the hair there, push it away, style it. So it's always an idea around the outside shape to just do it a little bit firmer. Another sort of tip really that you can think of, if your hair is particularly fine or you're working on colour treated hair, I would always maybe just use a perm paper folded in half and then just pop it through the bands like this, and again it will just give a little bit of extra protection so that we don't have those rubber marks that I was talking about previously, and it's an idea just to thread them all the way through, mainly the top. where the lotion goes. This is the finished wind with just protective papers just placed in really the top rollers. And the reason they're in the top rollers is when you apply the perm lotion, obviously that can sort of go directly, lay directly onto the scalp and cause sort of like rubber marks. And obviously when applying the lotion, always put cotton wool around the hairline first to prevent any lotion dripping onto the face and into the eyes. And I personally would damp down with cotton wool and a bowl and just damp down each one individually. Some product houses will have their own perming applicators, so obviously follow your own instructions or the manufacturer's own instructions.
Now revise Tracy's work and try on your own block, mindful of points to watch. 1. Assess the hair type. Please note, different product houses have various lotions for assorted hair types. 2. Sectioning size is defined by the size of the rollers and desired finished result. 3. When preparing the section, comb the hair forwards so the roller lays on the section base in order to achieve the correct root lift and movement. 4. Perm paper needs to be placed at the ends of the sections to facilitate accurate winding and to avoid frizz. 5. Always apply even tension for consistent results. Keeping the hair damp will assist this process. 6. When pulling the perm rubber over the roller, keep it away from the root and place paper to avoid a rubber mark.